Let's get into the news.
Hey, it's South Africa. It's a good place. Well, it's kind of a good place now. I don't want to explain. We'll explain it in the video. Okay, South Africa.
South Africa was founded in 1652 as first by the Dutch, but eventually colonized by the British. In 1910, the British unionized South Africa, bringing many of their colonies together. There was a cultural problem between the British and the African people living there that would lead to many crappy things. And then, apartheid happened. This is going to be the main thing we're talking about. Apartheid was basically a system of government based on treating the black majority poorly. It was introduced in 1948 and went until 1994.
In 1952, defiant campaigns against apartheid began. A wonderful man named Nelson Mandela, remember him please, was elected National Volunteer-in-Chief. Their plans were to protest for change of things apartheid put into effect, especially the poor prison system, discriminatory against black people. The campaign was called off after the main leaders were arrested by the South African police. So the South African police, the SAP for short, did a huge number of horrible, racist, and honestly crazy things during apartheid. For example, in 1960, the South African police killed 69 protesters in a peaceful protest. In 1976, when the police force opened fire on a large group of black children in Soweto, using things like tear gas. In 1977, the police started shutting down high schools with a black majority in an attempt to stop resistance against apartheid. And the interesting thing about that is that it led to more protest, to more unjust things being done by the police. So it was a constant cycle of resistance and oppression, and it got very, very intense. So what often ended up happening with the peaceful protesters, some violent but mostly peaceful protesters in these jails and prisons, which they shouldn't have been put in anyway, was that the police ended up killing them for no good reason. And this is just another example of this very violent situation where the police have a very violent and nonsensical mindset. And the reason for this amount of oppression between the police and the protesters was that the culture between white people in South America was kind of tainted with racism from the past. And this, at the time, made many people think in a way that they never would have believed that if it weren't for the country's state. So, it was very reactionary stuff, and it didn't even really help the government reach its goals. Not that they were really good or anything. It just made protesters, hungry for change. Also, one thing you really need to understand about any large-scale conflict is that there kind of has to be wrongdoing on each side, no matter how much the situation affects one side negatively. There are probably people protesting apartheid in violent ways, and some South African police taking an actually reasonable stance in defense. But on the large scale, yeah, this was obviously a problem with the government and the police.
Now, a time machine back to 1962. Nelson Mandela served his prison sentence at the Periopia Local Prison 7. Why 7? Who knows? It's probably the number 7 prison in the area. Basically, anywhere you go in history from 1962 to 1994, our friend Nelson Mandela is getting a free tour of the country, with his rooms being the hotel string known as prison, spending his time between stays witnessing the wonderful views of the lovely courtroom house, hosting their racist court system, or trying to ditch his tour guides by going on the run on fun road trips, avoiding the pinheads, police.
But then, in 1994, Nelson Mandela actually got out of prison forever this time. I am not joking. Roll the clip.
Good evening. For 27 years, 6 months and 6 days, he had been a prisoner. During that time, he became a legend, a symbol of black resistance to apartheid, and to many, he became a martyr. Tonight, he is a free man. Nelson Mandela, leader of the African National Congress. He walked out of a prison on a gloriously sunny South African afternoon. and there is general agreement that his freedom begins a new era in South Africa.
And after this, a lot of good stuff started happening. Like a new constitution was made in 1993, which allowed for a fair election in which Nelson Mandela was elected as president.
In 1994 to 1999, Nelson Mandela led South Africa, molding the young government into a non-racist democratic entity.
So from 1999 to 2009, Nelson Mandela is replaced by who most people think is so much more crappier. How do you pronounce it? I'll look it up. How to pronounce? Okay. Let's see. Thabo Mbeki. There it is. Oh, no, you don't have to say it twice. Anyway, sorry about that. So, Thabo Mbeki is president, and he failed at a lot of things people wanted him to do. Mainly not even attempting to stop the AIDS crisis, or like legit helping out their neighboring country, Zimbabwe. But this is not the reason that he is not president anymore. So in 2008, Thabo Mbeki, in his second term as president, actually got forced to resign due to some legal shenanigans with a national persecution authority. It involved Jacob Zuma. We don't really know the details, but it was something pretty bad, so he was forced to resign. And then there was a new election. So take it away, Curtis.
In 2009 to infinity and beyond, Jacob Zuma, the current president, is currently dealing with a lot of the current problems in South Africa, like economic problems, international diplomacy, all that's good stuff that's ruining this world.